Okay, let's look at another set of shadow layers sent in by a Junior Jiffy World Maker. This level is an example of correct shadow placement. You will notice that on this brick wall here, shadow is on the south, and on this wall, the shadow is on the west side of the wall. Here we have south, west, south, west, south down below, and west over on the side. Now you will notice that the cement floor has shadow on the top where it meets the south wall and on the right. Here it's on the top, right, that's the right of this little hallway, top of this little hallway, the right of this little hallway. Okay, let's look at something else that's correct in this level, but I'm going to show you an incorrect view of that. I'm going to take that corner out, and we'll take that corner there out. You see, where the south and the west meet on this wall, there needs to be shadow at that corner. And the same is true on the cement. You have shadow in this corner. There's a shadow there. Now then, there is one spot on this level that is missing shadow, and that's right here. There was shadow missing from this little piece on the west of the wall, and this section on the right of the floor was missing. Let's look at another level. Okay, this level is missing shadow in this corner here. It's missing shadow in that corner. This is correct. That's correct. This here is correct. And this area is correct, but we're missing shadow on the west part of the brick wall and on the right side of the cement. Everything else looks correct. So I'm going to save that, and we'll move on to another level. All right, on this level, we're missing shadow right here. There needs to be a piece of shadow on that spot. And this little section here is the south part of that little wall, so that needs to be filled in. And where else? Okay, that corner needs to be filled in. Shadow needs to be filled in here. This is all correct. See right there? The shadow is correct on that spot. So what we're seeing here is spotty application of rules. Whatever rule you were going by, either there should have been shadow in both places or not in both places. So it's a question of finding the rule as outlined by EJ in his lesson on how to do the shadows following this particular format, and then apply those rules. Now here you'll notice is a piece of missing shadow right there. Put the shadow in, and that's filled in. So this level looks to be correct. I say looks to be correct because, as you may be noticing, it is very easy to miss application of shadow in one spot or another. Okay, here's one more level. This is all correct except for we need shadow right there. We need shadow there, we need shadow there, and there, and there, and there. Shadow there, and there, and there, and there. and there. We had shadow there and there, which is correct. And this level now looks to be working with the proper shadow setup. So we'll save that, and we'll check one more level. And for this particular world maker, it looks like what we're seeing is this one corner being missed, at least in these levels. It was caught in some of the beginning levels, but it's being omitted here. And then that little corner there. The corner was filled in here, but not here. It's filled in here, but it wasn't filled in at this point. It's filled in there, but it was not filled in there. So obviously, this world maker knows that there's a shadow that goes here. This little corner here, though, it's looking like that's getting missed pretty much universally. So that's it on this particular set of shadows. Hopefully seeing these corrections will help you to better understand the nature of the shadow rules. Doing a review of a few more levels turned in for the shadow exercise. This particular level is correct as far as the shadow goes. I will be looking at a few more levels by the same world maker. I did want to point out something that I noticed with this level. If you turn off main so that you can see where the collisions are, you'll notice that there's collisions in the middle of the cement. This is generally a bad idea. Unless you have a very, very special reason for doing this, it's just confusing to the players. And if they can't walk on cement, once they're trained that, cement is where you walk, or gray, they don't know it's cement, it's just some kind of whitish gray, and this stuff here that might be brick or might be something else, they can't walk there. So they get trained, and then they come into this level, and now they can't walk, and they get caught up here, and they're trying to push down. They're going to be thinking that their keyboard is broken, that there's something broken with the game, and you'll be getting complaints about your game because the assumption will be that there's something broken either in their browser, their keyboard, or your game or the engine. So unless you do something that very specifically lets people know that you're doing this kind of tricky game, please don't do it. All right, here's another level by the same world maker. And if you look through the shadows, you'll see that this is pretty much perfect. I say pretty much because it is so difficult to get the shadows in there without missing something. In this particular case, right down here in this corner, right there, there's a piece of shadow that's missing. It belongs right on that little square. It's similar to this shadow, but it's off here on the side where it's easy to miss. Just a kind of lesson to remind us all that walking through these levels in order to test them for shadow is doubly important. And I did want to just very quickly remind you all, collision tiles, not on cement. This could end up being very confusing to a player. The normal route for going from spawn, which is over here, to teleport is along this path here. So the collision tiles aren't really noticeable, except that if a player wanders around, they will encounter them. Collision tiles under cement, unless you make very special arrangements with your game player. And to do that, you actually do need to input some visual clues. There needs to be something that tells them that something's going on other than the keyboard's broken or the game is broken. Okay, here's a level sent in by a Junior Jiffy World Maker. And this level has actually been corrected and resubmitted, but I wanted to use this sample to illustrate some corrections that others might find useful. So, looking at the level, this is correct. West side, west side, west side, west side, west side, west side. Those are all correct. And here we are missing a shadow on the right of the cement, so I'll put that in. And this is correct to have it on the west side, but there is not to be shadow on this bottom part of the cement where it matches. Instead, we have the shadow on the top of the floor so that it matches and butts up against the south side of the wall. So there would be shadow here as indicated. Now these walls, as in here there's shadow on the south side of the wall, well, we also put shadow on the south side of this wall. Take the shadow off of here, put the shadow on down below, which is the south side of that wall, west side, south side, and west side. And I believe at this point this level is correct. Undoubtedly there's one little bit of shadow that I've missed somewhere. The way to catch those is you actually walk through the level, because it helps direct your attention as you walk the character through the environment. But on visual inspection, this looks to be correct. Let's look at the work from another Junior Jiffy World Maker, and we are specifically looking for shadows and how the shadows are being applied. Here you'll see shadow on the south side of the wall and on the west side of the wall. The top of the floor, in this little hallway, it's on the top, and in this little hallway it's on the right. Those are the correct formula for putting in shadow. Down below, it's on the south, and on the west you see shadow. Now this level here has been treated with shadow correctly, with the exception of that little bit right there. Those little shadow spots there were omitted, and we shall insert those. This level is now correct, best as I can see. So let's save that, and then let's look at the next level. Loading. All right. Here, again, following the rule of shadow on the south side of a wall and on the west. West, south, west. Where's our south? It's missing shadow on the south side of that wall and the west of that wall. So we'll put those in. And the west of this wall up top. Are we missing anywhere else? Yes, this little square down here, it needs its shadow. Other than that, I think, nope, right here. The right side of the floor and the west side of the wall. Here, the west side of the wall and the right side of the floor are treated properly, but in this little section here, that was missed. And again, without taking a walking tour of the level, just using visual inspection, this looks to be done. So let's see what happens when we look at the next level. We're looking good. West, south, west, and then the right side. This is all looking good. Looking good. I could be missing something, but that looks to be absolutely correct. And we'll take a look at another level. And this little section right here, right there is missing, so we'll fill that in. If that was the only piece missing, I would assume, well, maybe it's some kind of thing relating to the black here. But we're also missing this piece here. See that? It's missing there. It's missing there. It's missing there. So it looks like either inattention or the rule has changed in the World Maker's head, and they're now seeing the rules as being different. So let's look at the next level. We'll save this. Let's look at the next level, and if the rules are still changed, then we'll attribute it to a change in understanding. But in this case, nope, the rules are being applied correctly. So in that other level, the missed tiles was probably a byproduct of inattention, which can be solved by taking a walking tour of your levels. It's easy to catch things when you walk through the level that you don't catch on visual inspection. And let's try one more level. That one there happened to be done correctly as near as I can tell. And it's all looking good. Just giving it a quick visual scan. And good. So these levels appear to be correct, except for those corrections that we found earlier in the levels. Some from inattention, and some were just minor omissions. Again, walking through the levels and using the character as a way to direct your attention, you can stumble across issues that you might otherwise not encounter. And this may be a question of aesthetics, but I'm going to follow the shadow rules and put shadow on this south wall here. I suspect the World Maker left that out on purpose, but for the purposes of this review, I think it's best to follow the guidelines as laid out. Otherwise, we run the risk of starting a new tradition of not putting shadow next to black flooring, which is not the guidelines as they've been developed. And you can tell here that this particular World Maker was not feeling too adamant about having shadow missing above a black flooring, because here the shadow's included. So that may have been an oversight, or it may be that they've changed their mind about how to work with the black flooring in between levels 1-0 and 1-1. Looking good. So we saw a few tiles to fix, shadow tiles to fix in this level, but all in all, this world maker looks to have the guidelines well in hand.